welcome to Duels Across the Stars, where me and my co-host rank Star Trek and Star Wars up against each other. This is our 32nd episode, and today we are ranking our top 5 battles. I'm Ben, and my co-host is...
Olympus, great to be here and getting ready to get into our battle for the top five battles.
I love the pun, and
It's the only one I've got.
fair enough. So, you will find us on iTunes, or not necessarily iTunes anymore, so Apple Podcasts. This is how old I am. Where we had the Duels Across the Stars, and on TrekWars and Fantasies YouTube channel, where you will find them there. Now, do we make any rules for our picks, Olympus? And if so,
No,
what is yours?
we do. What do we know? Let me say no, we do not. Yes, we do make rules, Olympus. We do make rules because I've got a very specific one this week as opposed to my previous weeks where I make it a little bit vague and a little bit easier for myself. But no, this week I decided to do something different and I have gone with basically space battles. It has to be battles in space.
Fair enough. I like that. I haven't been that specific. I've been open for land battles as well or combinations, but I haven't really made any specific rules or restrictions on this. I just wanted something to that involved lots of people or ships on each side. And to be honest, I subtly did make a bit of a pick. I was decided to pick ones from different either shows or films. So rather than have them all from one one show, for example, I wanted to
Hmm.
range it up a little bit in this. Now,
Yeah,
uh, fair enough.
I was just going to say I've actually done. I think I've done the same thing without trying. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're all different shows. There you go.
there we are. Lucky we've done the same there. Do we share our picks?
This time I'll say no and be right. We do not share our picks, no.
Ah, good.
Um, we like to get those genuine reactions from each other as we go through the picks. And yeah, it just makes it a bit more of a fluid conversation, which I always really enjoy.
Yeah, no, same here. It's reason why we don't share it, and it could have a little bit of surprise sometimes as well, and adds to the discussion when we're not trying to counter each other as
Yeah.
much. Then, shall we get straight on to our number 5 picks?
Let's. Who's going first?
Uh, Olympus, do you want to go first?
I will definitely go first, and thank you very much. And I am going to kick off with a battle that you hear lots about, but see very, very little of, if anything. And that is the Battle of Wolf 359 from Star Trek The Next Generation, where essentially the Borg have invaded Federation space. They have, by this point, spoiler alert, but to be fair, if you haven't watched Star Trek TNG, it's decades upon decades old now. Where have you been? Go watch it. But they've assimilated Captain Picard by this point. Um, a big fleet of Federation ships rendezvous at Wolf 359 to combat the Borg vessel before it can get into Sector 001, which is Earth, the Sol system. And yeah, they are absolutely pulverized almost effortlessly, in part because the Borg are that ruthless, but also because they have Picard. They've got his knowledge of their tactics, of their defenses, everything. So, yeah, the Borg literally annihilate the fleet. So, in the next generation, you don't actually get to see the battle itself. Which some could argue, well, it would have been really nice to see, but I actually like that they did this because instead, all you see is the aftermath, and you see just how brutal the Borg were, and yeah, they completely annihilated that fleet of starships, and it really adds to that sense of loss, of hopelessness, of despair that was building up in that episode with the Enterprise D crew. You get to see a little bit of that battle. Keep me honest, Ben. You get to see a little bit of it at the start of DS9, don't you?
Correct.
Um,
Yeah, because it's part of Ben's Captain or then Commander Ben Cisco's backstory there that he was part of it, and you see where he loses his wife and him evacuating there. So that's the only time we actually saw the battle was there. So at least on live action
yeah,
shows, anyway.
yeah.
Okay.
So we do get to see a little bit of it, but again, I think they did that justice actually with what little we saw of it. It really helped paint that picture of Cisco's backstory nicely. But yeah, that's my number 5, the Battle of Wolf 359.
I'm glad you picked that, and I think I know budget did have a probably a lot to do with not having the battle, but I think the effect was better seeing the aftermath of that and seeing how ruthless and the ability of the Borg there. So it does add. I think it added to it more.
Read, definitely.
Now,
What about your number 5 then, Ben?
now you did make a rule saying yours were as only space battles. This is the one that breaks it the most because there's no real space battles there. There's flying in this, but it's mainly land, and that's the Battle of Geonosis. Mostly because of the first part of it, which is starts off with Padme, Obi-Wan, and Anakin being not put on trial, but basically being executed in an arena, and then they manage to escape. They're having a little bit of fight between themselves and the Geonosians that are there. At this point, it's not really a battle; it's just a big fight or an escape, really. And then the Jedi arrive because Anakin has sent out that message to say this is what's going on, this is where they are, or Obi-Wan is. Please come and help. And then, yeah, you have this amazing fight going around, confrontation between Count Dooku and Mace Windu, and I nearly said Boba Fett there, but Boba Fett was there, but his father, and you have the Jedi completely outnumbered, and they are struggling. And you get there, and they're surrounded, and then coming from above is all these open-sided planes, I presume, or space, or not. I don't think they're space worthy, but they're open-sided sci-fi helicopters or planes. They end up wiping out a lot of the droids there and rescuing the Jedi. And then you have this throughout the next 10 or 20 minutes. I can't remember exactly. This battle going on with various different vehicles going around, and Count Dooku escaping. And then you have, in amongst that, you do have several duels with Dooku and Obi-Wan and Anakin there, and Yoda, and various things else going on. And this is the beginning of the Clone Wars officially. And it's an amazing visual, this battle here, and I think a worthy entry to top 5. And I'm sure you've got an opinion or two about this.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, it's the first full scale Star Wars sort of battle that you see on land in the prequel trilogy. And as I've said that, I've realized actually it's not, because you do see in the Phantom Menace on Naboo, there's a battle scene there, but it just doesn't feel the same, and it's not as big. It's not got as much scope to it. It's not got as much, what's the word, like gravity in terms of what this means for the wider galaxy to it. And one thing that I do love about the Battle of Geonosis is how, traditionally you have um, what do you call it? You have in these battle scenes when it's when it's cinematic, you have the good guys on the left hand side going into battle, the bad guys on the right going into battle. In the Battle of Geonosis, it switched. You've got the Jedi and the clones on the right hand side, the Separatists on the left, which a lot of people see as foreshadowing the betrayal of the clones in Episode 3. And I agree with that. I think that's very, very cleverly done. That must have been done on purpose.
And is
So yeah, I
it,
love that.
and maybe it is because people also think of, I'm not going to say the Jedi as bad guys, but they're, I think sometimes what people think of as the politicians of today, possibly, whereas they've got too big for their boots. And they're not doing the job they're supposed to
Certainly
do.
not perfect, are they? And
No.
and there's this whole question around corruption within the Jedi, which is explored in multiple media within Star Wars, actually, which is nice. So yeah, I'd agree with you on that point as well. So it does kind of foreshadow a bit of that too. Special, pardon me, the special effects were great. Um, and the whole battle, as it just had a scale to it, and a deeper gravity. You knew watching it that this meant war had properly kicked off, and that's what's going to lead into the third movie.
Oh, cool. And anyway, after that pick for number five, what is your number four?
So I'm going to go back to Star Trek again, to one of my favorite Star Trek movies, which very recently celebrated its 30th birthday, Star Trek Generations. And I'm going to
Ooh.
pick a I'm going to pick about that a lot of fans actually analyze and don't really like very much, and that is the face-off between the Duras sisters, Bird of Prey, and the Enterprise D, which ultimately leads to the saucer section of the D crashing onto, is it Viridian 3?
Yeah.
Um,
Which I
yeah,
accidentally got
so,
wrong the other day on a podcast I was on, which I'll advertise at the end.
oh, nice. Okay, yes, yes, please do. So, what I actually really like about this battle, like, a lot of people nitpick at it, especially because, after the first volley or two of torpedoes and blasters from the Klingon ship, you'd think Worf should just like remodulate the shields and voila, they'll be fine again. This is in theory, maybe, but there's several things that people don't consider. The surprise of the attack, the fact that they've hit straight through the shields and started causing serious damage to the Enterprise, which means that there are going to be systems down, and maybe the remodulation of the shields isn't at the top of the priority list. Um, whereas at the normal start of a battle, it might have been. But it's actually a lot deeper than that. I don't actually see that battle as a battle between the Duras sisters and the Enterprise D. I see it
Oh,
as a battle between Soren and the Enterprise D, even though Soren's on the planet for the entire time. And that's because it was his plan, his schemes, his system set in motion, where he kidnapped Geordie, um, did some pretty ingenious techno stuff to his visor, not just to provide a live video feed from the visor to the Klingons without it being detected by the transporters and without it being detected by any scans, but also displaying it back in proper visuals and not in the
what
array
Geordie
of
says.
different infrared and other lights that Geordie sees. Right, that's some pretty good techno stuff he did. Credit
Okay,
to Soren on that.
definitely. I know you could
Um,
say some of that is just for effects of the film, but still,
Yeah,
so brilliant work. So
exactly,
you made
exactly.
your
My head canon rolled it in to do it on purpose.
yeah, and it's
um,
made your baddie seem better. As in, yeah,
exactly
his
that.
abilities
You
were
know,
good.
Soren's meant to be this intelligent. He's evil, but he's meant to be this intelligent, formidable opponent. Where the Duras sisters, and I love the Duras sisters to bits, especially in TNG, they were great, but they're Klingon. You know, they're a bit more blunt, a bit more probably brutal, but they're not as refined and sharp of mind
No.
as Soren is, and you can definitely see that between the two scenarios.
And they're
So no,
Joras as well, so they're
mhm.
out of the Klingons. They are tend to be the blood side of the Klingon Empire. Even though those two sisters are probably the more intelligent of all the family, but that's not saying a lot.
No, I do agree with you. And again, like I actually love them as characters. They're really, really good, very
I do.
charismatic. But yeah, that's my number four. I won't waffle anymore. I just found it very, very smart what Soren did and how he managed to turn that tide so easily, just through outwitting basically, to the point that a flippin' 20-year-old Klingon bird of prey actually stood a chance against the Federation flagship.
Yeah. I know the Enterprise was at that stage probably 8 years old, maybe, but still, because it was
Hmm.
new at the beginning of season one. They've had 7 seasons, and this was not far off the end of that. So
Bear in mind, the original idea behind the Galaxy class was that it could survive for up to 100 years in service. That's how it was built. It was built to last for a very long time. So the fact that the Galaxy class actually didn't is quite interesting and shows how much changed from the creation of the first couple, which was the Enterprise and what was the sister ship again, the Yamato,
I'm not,
um, to through with the Borg and everything. I think it was the point that the Borg really came into matters that the idea of the Galaxy class as a longer term vessel like that sort of got put to one side.
no, fair enough. I haven't actually heard that, but the reasons is sound.
I well, as I say, I that's me putting a lot of my own head canon into it as well. Um, but yeah, I know for a fact that the Galaxy class was meant to last a very very long time. I'm sure it was about 100 years lifespan. But the last thing I'll say about that battle as well, you know, I love when the source is going down. Data in the midst of experiencing all these emotions for the very first time is just going, oh, moopsie. And yeah, I can never stop watching that. It's funny.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I still haven't got used to Data having emotions myself, but yeah, it is a good episode, or good film for emotions. So I'm going to go on to thinking about emotions. Probably my favourite film from any of these franchises, actually. That's Rogue One, and I'm going to go to the Battle of Scarif. So this is one of the ones where it's a two-area battle. You have it up in the air where you got the rebel fleet trying to get the plans from Scarif, or they're trying to get uh, get it, get the signal that's coming from the planet through there, but it's been blocked off, and they're having a battle. They're trying to get through, and you also have the Rogue One team on the planet who's actually trying to get the plans to be able to send them to somebody from the rebellion. For me, it is everything that's cool with space battle from Star Wars. You got them looking like the smaller ships, looking like they're flying like planes on Scarif, and also trying to get around that shield and through the shield there to the big battles, big ships having battles, checking on everything with I'm presuming it's home one, but I'm not sure. Um, but and you also have the ship, the Hammerhead Corvette, looking into the ships, the Star Destroyers. There, it looks into the one and literally practically takes off the bridge of the other one. Not just the bridge, but everything that's on top of the triangle part of it. There, which smashes open the force field there. Looks amazing there, and you've got that tropical looking paradise then on the planet where you have all the walkers or the AT-ATs walkers, and you've got them running around trying to find things. You've got a few of them trying to get into the main place where the signal's coming from. Yeah, you got the Death Star appearing at the end of that, destroying it, and this is all from the crawl of the first Star Wars film. That's this. It's amazing. Now I haven't really talked about what the battle is on the planet, but them all trying to raid the planet there is just amazing. In my head, it just looks going all having their personal battles and all trying to get there for the greater good, trying to plug it. Can't remember why they were trying to plug it in, but there was something from one of the ships that they were trying to plug in to one of the units on there. You have the climbing around to actually find the right file that was left for them. Just love it.
It's a brilliant battle. It's in my honourable mentions. In particular, the bit I love the most out of, I'm going to focus on the space battle bit because that's the, what to call it, that's my focus for time, but the Hammerhead Corvette doing what it did to those Star Destroyers was creative and strategic. And I know, again, that's a point that a lot of fans can criticize. I love it because it shows some thinking outside the box and some thinking in ways that you would expect a rebellion to think. You know, they're going to look for ways to turn the tides and win or improve their chances of winning because they are outmatched and outgunned in almost every single scenario. No, that's beautiful. I will take a moment as well to mention the ground battles. You know, there's some emotional points with some key characters through that, but it was utterly beautiful. They introduced the AT-ATs brilliantly in the right moment with the right music, and it just gave me goosebumps. And you know, again, I felt like with the AT-ATs in that movie, you really got a sense that, you know, these were pretty impervious machines towering over you, that you're not, that you can't take them down yourself. You need much bigger firepower. They were quite menacing, which in other movies they don't feel that I don't get quite the same impression from them, but they nailed it in Rogue One.
No, I think so as well. And that's probably half the reason why I love that film.
Oh, I can't blame you. It's a brilliant film. So, on that note, I will move on to my number three, which is the battle over Coruscant. I've talked
Oh,
about this in a previous, at least one previous episode. It was a long time ago now.
in a galaxy far,
Um,
far away.
yes, yes.
Sorry.
Oh, that's just taking me back to Ahsoka when you've got Hu Yang saying that as they're in the Starwell. Oh, that's a great moment. Anyway, digression. Sorry. Number three, Battle over Coruscant. The music, the special effects, the sequence of how they have this moving with the two Jedi starfighters kicking off, moving almost in tandem together, switching between here and there before diving down and revealing the absolute carnage of this battle between the Separatists and the Republic over the Republic capital of all places. Again, it was scale and emotion absolutely delivered beautifully. And I don't have much more to say than that. Go watch it if you have not seen this. If you've not seen it in a while, go watch it again just now. You know what? Sod it. Just go watch it anyway, because it's always it always puts a smile on my face. It's one of my favorite sequences in all of Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I like your pick. I like your pick. I think I will go on to my third pick at the moment. And
Is it the same one, Ben?
it's not the same one, actually. I'm going to go to Star Trek on
Oh,
this one.
phew,
Um,
phew.
no, I'm going to go to Star Trek and Deep Space Nine for this one. And I've really. Oh, I'll explain in a minute, but I'm going. This is not a call. This is the only one in here that's not a battle of so and so. This is Operation Return. So, to set up, Deep Space Nine got taken over by the Cardassians and the Dominion here and renamed it to its previous name and original name, Terek Nor. And basically, they had Bajorans, a couple of Bajorans helping, and they had some of the original people like Cork, there, Ron, all on here. Lita was there. Even Jake Sisko managed to stay, much to the annoyance of his dad and his granddad. And they caused a bit of chaos, and they had managed, before they left, managed to create a minefield, a self-replicating minefield in front of the wormhole to block it and stop anybody else coming for the Dominion.
Keep me honest, that minefield also cloaked, didn't it?
I believe it did, actually, yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember it. Yeah, I thought because
yeah,
as soon as I saw them cloaking when the Defiant left them just after finishing off, I went, "Oh my god, they cloak!"
yeah. So under that, and basically being occupied again, even though this was not a occupation, this was just another power in control of the Deep Space Nine. It was an occupation in sorts, and you had, after a considerable amount of time, you had the Federation tried to take it back and try to get the original crew back on it, so Cisco and Dax and Bashir and O'Brien, etc. And basically, they set off a big fleet of Federation ships to go and retake this, aka Operation Return. And they go and have this amazing long battle, lots of ships all everywhere, whether it's the Defiant, whether it's Galaxy class, I think, was there, and various other ships that I cannot remember now, and having this amazing battle. And then there's the tactics involved. You had the team in Terek Nor, as it was there at the time, going, this is what we're going to do, and Golda Cut goes, actually, I'm going to give them a little bit of a gap. To think they got a little gap to go through. And actually, and then close them off. And they sort of do that because the Federation side go, actually, we know it's a trap, but I think this is our only chance. And they said, if somebody managed to break free, just head for Deep Space Nine, and I'm calling it Deep Space Nine because that's from the Federation's point of view, and go there, which the Defiant actually manages to do just about with various other ships doing that. They may have stood a chance if the mines hadn't come down. But the other side says, look, we're a space station, we can take on one ship, and that's fine. And then actually the Federation also, well, Defiant is starting to head to the space station, start winning. And there is a little bit of panic going on in the on Terek Nor, and they go, okay, it's fine. We can actually get this minefield down. It just takes us a couple of seconds, which they do alongside Kieran Nerys and Nog, or not Nog, Rom, going, we've got this. Who have just been broken free from prison because they got stuck in prison because they're terrorists or doing something wrong, or they're just bad eggs from the Dominion point of view. And literally at the same time, you go, both press the button, and it's like, and then you see Rom go, oh no. Oh no. It's like, he fails, and all the mines, like, basically explode, and you see this big explosion from the Defiance point of view. And you have the ships from the Dominion coming through now. Cisco goes, let's go into the wormhole. We've got... what else can we do? And they managed to... I don't know if he was hoping he could speak to the prophets, or whether he was thinking he was going to explode, close the wormhole. But he managed to talk to prophets, and they made them disappear, the ships from the Dominion, and it was just like... Then you had the Cardassians of the Dominion all going, okay, we failed, let's go. We're leaving this now. It's more for the whole storyline rather than just the battle, but that battle in Star Wars, I don't think I've seen anything like those battles until that show, and I don't think I've really seen anything like that again until probably Discovery, so quite a few years or quite a few decades later. Anyway, any thoughts? I've been rambling a lot.
I don't know, because to keep me honest here, so that battle, does that end with the Federation winning and retaking the station?
It has them
or is that later?
It has them retaking the station. It's not winning the war. This is just
No,
retaking the
but
story.
it helps. That's when the retake. So, cool. I wanted to establish that because I loved this battle as well. I agree with you. It was the first time on television that I ever experienced a starship battle in Star Trek of that scale.
Yeah.
It must have cost them a fortune at the time to do it, and it looked spectacular. The tactics, as you said before as well, that were being deployed during the battle were brilliant. It was really well thought out. So well thought out that I believe this is a battle that I do have in my number 2 spot.
Oh, it's another one I was expecting to have.
Yeah, I've got it down under a different name, so you're gonna have to keep me honest here, because I have only watched DS9 once, so I might be getting my battles confused. But I've got this down as Sacrifice of Angels.
It's from the episode Sacrifice of Angels.
Yeah, because that was also the 130th of Deep Space Nine, so it very much felt like a celebration of reaching that milestone at the same time, which I thought was lovely.
Yeah, and it took most of that episode as well.
It did. It did, and you were on the edge of your seat watching it, wondering what was going to happen, how was it going to turn. They had it moving backwards and forwards in terms of who was winning so many times. And I mean, it's not like the Federation won that battle easy peasy. And I mean, they had help from the Klingons and whatnot as well.
Yeah,
but there
just
were lots of losses. There was a lot of damage that they took, a lot of sacrifice. But yeah, so there you go. It is down there as my number 2 as well.
Unbelievable. Yeah, and on what you were saying about winning and it being close, yeah, if it wasn't for the Klingons helping, coming in at that second to help, if it wasn't for the minefield going down, that it wouldn't have been so close. And if it wasn't for the wormhole aliens or the prophets helping out, basically there would have been a second battle again, and trying to compete with these, or even they, because it was only the Defiant there at that time. The rest hadn't managed to get there. A whole new fleet would have arrived in the Alpha Quadrant and gone and into Cardassian space, or even stayed at Deep Space Nine. Who knows? What if? So, I don't think. Yeah. So, do you have any more to say to number 2? Because otherwise, I will go back into my number 2 pick.
No, I do not. But there you go. That is my number 2 pick. I'm trying to think about the other starship classes that I saw very quickly, but there was definitely a Nebula class in there. You had the Galaxy class. You obviously had the Defiant. There were fighters. There was a few different types of fighter craft in there, which was nice to see. There were other ones. I can't remember, but there were others.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway,
so I'll
on
go
to
to
your
my
number
number
2, Nick.
2, and I realised I said at the beginning I was going to go for different shows, but I haven't in the end because I've just realised that I have 2 from Deep Space Nine,
There
and
you
it's
go.
and it's like I think I had to have this one. I think it's my original one. I had them all different, but I think I put this in one of those 2 in at the last minute. And talking of last, this is really the last big fight. This is the last fight of the Dominion War of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. This is the Battle of Cardassia. Not the Battle of Coruscant, but the Battle of Cardassia. And in similar effect, you had 2 sides of lots of ships coming back. You have the Dominion on one side, which included the Cardassians' ships in there. You had the Romulans and Federation and Klingons on the other side, facing off. And this was another brutal battle. It's very, in a way, it was kind of similar. You hear the talking for the radio to various people. You have them saying with Martok, the Federation, Admiral Ross going and Cisco going, we'll meet on Cardassia and have a drink of blood wine. And you've got this intense battle. And this is going very badly for the Federation and its allies. They actually look like they are potentially going to lose this one. And if it wasn't for a couple of things that are going on, which was probably helped by what was going on Cardassia itself, and that's the resistance with Damar, Garrick, and Kieran Nerys, who managed to have been for the last, in their time period, couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, put in a resistance there, and have actually got to some of the Cardassians who actually helped them escape from after being caught. And obviously the Cardassians at this stage are getting fed up with being under Dominion rule, going, this is not what we expected when we joined up. We're losing our identity. And presumably once this group of people had rescued the three of them, Garrick, etc., they must have got a message to the fleet, who decided to join, switch sides halfway through this fight. Because bear in mind also at this point, Cardassia Prime was being bombarded. Actually, I don't know when it was, but at one point Cardassia Prime was being bombarded. I think it might have been after the Cardassians turned sides, actually, thinking about it. And actually retreated to the... Go on.
I think you might be right. Wasn't it the Dominion that turned the weapons on Cardassia Prime?
Yeah, I think it is, actually. Now you say that. And I'm skipping right to the end. I'm skipping to after it. They managed to stop a separate, or the continuation of the fight at Cardassia Prime, with because the founder was happy to just go, we're going to put this to ruins. I don't care. This is going to mess up everywhere for long, almost like the Second World War, where it was just like, yeah, we're not going to give up. We're never surrender. We're going to let you get to. You have to get to Berlin and kick our asses. But luckily, Odo managed to go down there and go have a word with the female changeling and say, we don't see what they say because it was a one of their Meldons, and they give up saving a second battle there or continuation of this battle, but it was another one of those battles where it was ending the show. It was epic. You had lots of stories coming to an end. You had the characters there. Love it. I suppose it's similar to the Battle of Scarif, which is the ending of a show or in that case a film. But this was 7 years, or even just 3-4 years of the Dominion arc coming to an end. Yeah, absolutely loved it. Any thoughts on that?
Not many. I can see why you picked it. And again, just like so many battles in that war, it was close for quite a while. And at points, as you said, not looking great for the Federation and the Klingons.
Yeah.
And I was going to say something else that's gone out of my head. Damn it, what was it? It was about the arc. That whole Dominion arc pretty much coming to an end. It's a fair point because it was the episode Jem'Hadar which kicked it off properly. I know we'd had whispers of the Dominion before that, but that's the first time you come across them, and that was what, season 3?
3.
Two.
Yeah.
It was either
Actually, I
end of
think it.
2 or
I think it might have been the
end of
end.
3.
Yeah, one of the two of those. Yeah, and then the next. Yeah. Yeah.
So it does. It went on quite a while.
Yeah.
Um, and it was good at that. It wasn't too long, considering how it all developed and grew.
Yeah, because you had a
Um,
Cold War to
no.
start with, so like almost
Hmm.
for a year or so, and yeah, I suppose it's one of the reasons I liked the show, and because it wasn't always solid. Dominion War, Dominion War, Dominion War, Dominion War. They had a few other episodes in the main, like holodeck episodes or such
Yeah.
like. So
Yeah. It was good that way. Which I guess takes me to my number one.
yeah.
So I'll stay with Star Trek, but I'm going to jump us forward a considerable amount in time to Star Trek Picard season 3. Um, and I wouldn't be surprised, Ben, if you're like, oh, he's gone for the Enterprise D against the Borg cube, hasn't he? Because of how beautiful that was, and that is an early honourable mention that I'm going to throw
Oh,
out there, but
I
that's not the
wasn't.
battle I'm going to actually bring up.
I was not the battle I was thinking. I was thinking along the lines
Oh.
of a similar one where you've mentioned this earlier, but it's usually the beginning part of this before you get to the battle. I think this is when they were having the celebration.
Ah, yes, yes, and again, no, it's not that one either.
Oh, oh,
No,
you
it's
got me.
earlier in the season where and it actually covers a few episodes. That's probably given it away. Between the Titan and the Shrike. Um, for starters, to have this battle span 2 or 3 episodes and pace it that way was bold and brave, and I feel like they delivered that very well because it's not a constant firefight. I've mentioned it for a couple of my previous picks. It's intelligent, it's thought out, it's tactical, and the captain of the Shrike, her name eludes me now. I'm having a blank moment, but
Oh.
the captain. Yes, what were you going to say, Ben?
No, I was going. I remember, but I was having the same feeling. I was
Ah.
about to tell you, and I went. I had the same thoughts. It was the person that was the changeling who changed into a captive. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It was her. Um, she's intelligent. She's thoughtful. She's kind of manipulative in ways, and she spends such a decent amount of time almost taunting them, egging them on, and trying to lure them into her trap. It's she was a brilliant villain to begin with. And I really loved how she commanded the Shrike and the tactics that she put in place against the Titan. And she very much felt like she had the upper hand through all of it, and she did. So credit to her. The Titan were on the back foot You had Captain No Shaw, who, by the way, I love to bits.
Oh,
He's one of my favorite captains.
yeah, I didn't watch it at the time for some reason. I think it must have been money for not better to afford the thing. But I remember people mentioning him and going, when it early on and going, oh god, there is this dislikable character. Um, but as soon as I watched, I knew who they were on about, and but by their character end, I did like this character. Sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, you do. You really relate to him by the end. He's great. Um, so you had Shaw, who was forced into a situation he didn't want to be in, ends up injured, um, gives command over to Riker, and then you have this interesting scenario develop that you've never seen before, where Riker and Picard disagree, and Picard actually takes it too far, uh, makes a tactical error that results in them adrift and basically on their way to being crushed by the nebula that they're hiding in. So you had all of that emotion on the Titan going on, which was leading to their demise, and they're losing this. And it was only through them all coming back together, proper next generation style, to pull things around in the following episode that really led to them turning that tide and beating the Shrike. And they beat it in such a brilliant way, a very Riker way, where it's like, I am sick of you. I'm just gonna fling the first rock I can find at you. Because I'm fed up. But no, seriously, again, it was tactical, it was thought out, it was spur of the moment, which is very Riker, and utterly, utterly brilliant. So no, to summarize, I love this battle simply because of the tactics and the strategy and the intelligence involved through all of it, and the playing on people's emotions and all of the different emotional things going on between the two ships during that time too. Everything fit in and played a part in how the battle and the situation was playing out, and then how the tide was turned.
I think I've mentioned. I like your pick. I think I've mentioned this before in a previous pick when you've picked something similar, but I've guessed wrong. But this was when they had the bar scene when the two Picard and his son were having a yap, and then you had everybody join them in this bar area and have a drink when they think they are completely moopsied and yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's I like that scene and that was good. Yeah, I like it. So,
Thank you. What's your number one then, mate?
out of curiosity, before I actually mention it, before we done recording, Olympus said he thinks he's got one pick that's the same as mine. What was it?
Sacrifice of Angels.
Oh, was it that one? Oh, I was thinking it was going to
No.
be another one.
No. Oh, so I'm guessing that you do have one which is the same as mine as well then.
I certainly do.
Mm. Is it? I'll have one more guess
Okay,
then. Is it the battle over Coruscant?
it certainly is.
Yes.
Yes. So, I love this as an opening. This complete silence of the ship, and then it's suddenly, the ship's swooping. You got this long scene of Obi-Wan and Anakin, along with a few the clone troopers or the clone pilots, uh, helping them. So like back there, Anakin wanted to go back to help them, but it was like Obi-Wan saying, "Let them do the jobs. That's the reason they're here." And then you had like the buzz droid situation. Yeah, they're flying through all the ships and other fighters, and as we said, buzz droids. Um, we had that landing into one of the ships where they had to knock the door open at the last second and jumped out and fought a load of droids. Then you had them get into the bridge where they Was it actually the bridge or was it throne room? I can't remember, but where the Chancellor was being held.
Throne room.
Throne room, yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's the
Yes,
throne room because after they've rescued the Chancellor and they're running down the corridor, they get captured by one of those ray shields,
ratios. It's like
and
we're too
everyone's doing
good
the
for
whole,
this.
how did this happen? We're better than this. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Then they end up on the bridge.
bridge. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, and you have them. Yeah, sliding down the turbo shaft. Okay, that's very Star Trek, but you know what I mean. And
I
then it's
liked
suddenly
it.
going to the right. Then you had them trying to land the ship or half a ship onto Coruscant. Yeah, it was. Yeah, this was awesome, and it had to be my number one pick, and that's why I quickly went skipped onto my battle number three because it was just like
So
there we are. Do you
it,
have anything else to add?
it was my number one for a little while. When I reevaluated and I based it off of, I guess I based it a lot off of emotions I was feeling. And the top three in particular, well, in fact, all of my five, I was feeling a lot of emotions going through, but the top three in particular, like Revenge of the Sith, when someone mentions Revenge of the Sith, the first scenes I think about is the battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan. The second scenes I think about is the Battle over Coruscant. Um, Sacrifice of Angels was pivotal in Star Trek for me from a television show point of view. And there was a lot at stake in it. And the Titan Strike, just that whole situation really brought everything back to me and played with my emotions when it came to the relationship between Picard and Riker as well. So that's why the top three in particular moved around a little bit up and down. But yeah, I did have the Battle over Coruscant as number one, at least twice. But no, I'm comfortable with how I've ended. But to my point, I can totally see why you've got it as number one because I had it as number one.
No, fair enough. So quick scores on the boards, which actually surprises me, and it goes
That's right.
Star Trek 6, Star Wars 4. So I know
Ooh.
now.
You'd expect Star Wars to be a lot more battly as well,
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
yeah. So did I. Yeah, uh, yeah. I definitely do. Now, honourable mentions. Any from you, Olympus?
I've got three, six. I've kept it to seven.
Ah, fair enough.
The seventh is more multiples, but let's say seven. So, starting with Star Trek, the Enterprise E versus the Borg cube at the start of Star Trek First Contact. So, not just the
Yeah.
E, but the
Battle
E
of
with the
Zero Zero
rest
One.
of the
Yeah.
fleet. Yeah, I loved that battle. Again, the special effects were amazing. It was tactical, and it felt like it felt like what Wolf 359 could have been if the fleet was being pulverized, which
Yeah.
obviously it wasn't as much this time, but you get the gist. Um, then you've got the Enterprise E versus the Sona in Star Trek Insurrection, where Riker employs the Riker maneuver, and I'm not talking about the chair sweep. I'm talking about when he opens up the buzzard collectors and soaks in all of that Metreon gas, which he then uses to blow up and disable the sonar ships that are pursuing them. Um, the other one I've got is Enterprise E versus. You get the gist about me and the Enterprise E in these honorable mentions. She's a beautiful ship. We needed more of her.
Go back to
But
our
the E
top five
versus this.
ships.
Yeah. But the E versus the Scimitar in Star Trek Nemesis. Again, I just found the Scimitar so imposing and threatening. It definitely outgunned the Enterprise E, which stood pretty strong, helped by the Valdor and the other Romulan ship. at points, don't get me wrong, but it did stand strong. Um, and the whole ramming speed scenario that they did with the Enterprise, ramming its nose into the scimitar, I thought that was very clever too. Battle of the Binary Stars from Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
That again, it's probably the first Star Trek large fleet engagement that I've seen on screen with, let's call them very decent special effects, like movie level special effects. So that made that special, but also it was quite different, because it was very different cinematography for a TV show for Star Trek. The technology being used looked and felt quite different as well, so it was a bit of a different take. I quite like that. Onto Star Wars, I've got the Battle of Scarif focused on space, in particular the Hammerhead ship and what it did with those two Star Destroyers, which I thought was very creative. The Naboo versus Trade Federation battle in the Phantom Menace. Um, Again, I know some fans nitpick at Anakin flying in and out of that place and blowing up an entire, basically, space stationy ship thing. But leave him alone. He was the chosen one, right? It was good. I liked the battle. The Naboo starfighters are gorgeous. And there was lots of great special effects going through that. And to round off, so many Clone Wars battles. I'm not even going to try
Perfect.
and mention them, but watch the Clone Wars, Ben. I say it every time.
You
Watch
do.
the Clone Wars.
So I'm going to go into my top. Oh, not my top five. My honourable mentions. So I want to go for the Battle of Exegol, which is Rise of Skywalker. That's the one where they
Hmm.
have a battle. Oh, there's lots of battles going around, but specifically I'm thinking about the fight on top of a Star Destroyer there, where they all come out on top of that. So that was good fun. You also had the Battle of Hoth, which was quite fun. Um, you got in my head, you got two from the Last Jedi. The first one at the beginning, where you had all the ships going in that took out that Star Destroyer that they wanted them to withdraw from the fight because they got what they wanted. And then you had the Battle of Crate at the end, so like similar to the Battle of Hoth, but on Crate. So that was quite fun. Yeah, I had the battle over to Star Trek. The Battle of 001 from Rogue One from the First Contact. That was good fun. And I didn't really have any more Star Trek ones other than there was two for the Battle of Chinchaka, the first battle and the second one from Deep Space Nine again, which was the one that started me going, I don't want to list the Deep Space Nine episodes going through, so that's maybe that helped was my pick, so it made less to choose from if I started restricting that. And that's it. So I said I was going to say this at the end because of the Enterprise decrashing in the Generations. I was relatively recently on a podcast, Trek, not Trek Wars, we are Trek Wars and Fantasy, or I am Trek Wars and Fantasy, whatever you want to call it. It was on Trek Ranks, where this got my inspiration for doing this, and I done a top five list for my top five scenes in a woods or in the forest, which for mine included the Enterprise D crashing through the trees on that one.
Was a very big forest that the D crashed through.
It was
Especially when you pan out and see that it didn't take out the entire forest either.
very
Yeah,
true.
and by the way, those trees were massive. Some of those trees were huge. When you look
Yeah,
at that in comparison to the size of the saucer section,
yeah. I
that was a
presume
very
they.
well-established forest it culled.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think they looked like they were Sequoia, but they were definitely got between that and
They were big.
yeah, those woods. So link will be in the chat for that one. Um, so Olympus, where can we find you?
So all the usual places. Where is that? That is YouTube, Twitch. Where else?
Bluesky.
Twitter, I guess. Blue Sky now. I'm loving Blue Sky. That's great. And all those places. And here, of course, on many of the different elements of content here on Trek, Wars, and Fantasy. Um, and yeah, username at Olympus0511 for everything. You'll also find me on Trek Central's website, writing some content on there for them. So that's under my real name. I'm a real boy,
Yes, yeah.
which is Tom Macaulay. Ben, where can we find you?
So, TrekWars and Fantasy on YouTube, on Twitch as well. I'm trying to get my live streaming more consistent, even though I usually manage to do it at least once a week. But I'm trying to get to 50 followers on Twitch, um, which I'm not
You're not
far
far
off.
from that now.
No, I'm
No,
really,
you've only got 5 to go.
yeah, I have, and I'm looking forward to hopefully getting there. I'm Trek Wars and Fantasy again on Twitter and Blue Sky, and if I forgot anything, that will be in the doobly doo down in the bottom of the screen. So, thank you for watching. You've been a lovely audience, and may the force be with you.
May the force be with you.